Story 1. For the past few years, I've been working 2 jobs, typically leaving my house around 6 in the morning and not getting home until 10 at night. Then I sleep, and on most days I repeat that same schedule. Unfortunately, that's just the situation I've been in for a while. But this happened just a couple of months ago. I came home one night and did what I usually do, which is shower and get ready for bed. But while I was in the shower, I heard some movement that sounded like it was just outside the bathroom door. I quickly got out and checked, but saw nothing. So I figured it just had to be the house creaking or something. I finished cleaning up and got into bed. Throughout the night, I kept hearing odd noises coming from all throughout the house. Mostly just some sort of creaking, kind of like if it was really windy outside and making the house sway. But there was no wind and no reason for the house to be making any noise. At one point in the middle of the night, I even got up and walked around to try and find out what it was. But I found nothing. In the morning, I was very tired and had to work the whole day, relying on coffee to keep me awake. By the time I got home after a long day at work, I was exhausted and sleepy, really hoping for a good night's sleep. I went right upstairs and turned the shower on. But before I even got in, I heard something outside the bathroom door again. This time, I was sure it was right outside the door, and it sounded like it passed right by and left the bedroom. Although as unlikely as it was, it really sounded like something had moved across my room. I knew I had to go out to see if someone was there, but I was feeling really uneasy. When I finally got the courage to go out, I didn't see anything. I walked through the whole house and had a quick look around each room. I was convinced it had to be something odd going on inside the walls or under the floorboards. Anyhow, I showered and got in bed, falling asleep just before midnight. The instant I woke up by some weird noise, I knew something was terribly wrong. It was very dark and the entire house was silent. I wasn't sure what had woken me up, but I could feel that it had something to do with the sounds I'd been hearing. I peered over at the door and saw the slightest movement of a shadow from under the crack. I jolted up and stared across the room. My heart immediately started racing as I saw the shadows of someone moving away from the door. It was like 3 to 4 people, and I heard them walking down the stairs hallway. I was horrified and frozen in fear, but I got up and swung the door open. I looked out, and standing at the end of the hallway was the dark outline of a man. His eyes were the only thing that really stood out to me. He was wearing a hat, and I saw 2 other men running behind him going out of the house, but he stood there. His eyes pierced through me with a sense of anger and restlessness. I slammed my bedroom door shut and locked it. The man's footsteps got louder, and I started hearing loud thuds outside the room. And all of a sudden, things got quiet. I got the police to come as soon as possible, but they didn't have much luck. They found no sign of intrusion nor any damage done to the property. I was damn sure that the man had rage in his eyes, and he had others with him as well. Maybe he was there to rob me, but everything is just speculation at this point. Knowing that there is some random existence in my house is a horrifying thing to think about alone. I couldn't shake this feeling and had to shift my house before getting psychopathic about it.
Story 2. So, it was the time when we moved into a house that was the creepiest and oldest in that town. But I never really believed in scary stuff and thought it to be casual. So, one day after a week of shifting, my parents needed to go out of town due to some work. They left me alone in that house. It was a stormy night, and thunder was booming outside with flashes of lightning. The wind howled so aggressively that it rattled the windows and made the whole house shake. I tried to stay calm throughout the storm, but as the night went on, weird things started to happen. I started hearing creaking sounds and whispers coming from the corners of the house, as if someone was standing just behind those walls. I heard someone walking outside our house, but I thought, who can get out in this storm during this time of the night? Right at that moment, I saw a shadowy figure moving in the corner of my eye. My heart was beating in my chest like crazy, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was someone else in the house. This is just my imagination and nothing more than that, I told myself. But deep down, I knew something was off. As I sat on the couch trying to distract myself using my mobile phone, the lights went off, and the room turned dark. What the heck? It must be due to the storm, I muttered, with my heart racing even faster. I turned on the flashlight of my phone to figure out the source of this power outage. As I raised the light, I saw someone passing by my door in the hallway. Fear consumed me, and I decided to lock the door. As I turned back after locking the door, I heard a creepy knock on it that sent chills down my spine. I rushed to my bed and covered myself with a blanket, but the door started rattling. And I heard someone scratching the door from the other side. "Please, just go away," I cried loudly as I felt tears filling up my eyes. I sat huddled in a corner, holding my phone like the only lifeline. As I thought that things were getting better, I saw a pale face staring right at me. Just outside the window, I screamed unconsciously and held myself even tighter. I thought that this might be my last night. But then, the face disappeared, and the room fell completely silent. Again, I thought it was finally over. But then I heard the main door banging open and heavy footsteps moving here and there. Then, they gradually got louder, as if approaching the door of my room. My heart pounded, and I felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. The doorknob started turning. I perfectly remembered that I locked it with my own hands. But the door slowly creaked open. I held my breath. My mind was racing with fear, and then a dark figure stepped into my room. It was the same pale-faced man who stood outside the window. I couldn't move and couldn't scream. As the figure moved closer and closer, it reached out his cold hand towards me. He was drenched with water, and his clothes were dripping water everywhere. I closed my eyes, bracing for the worst. But then, out of nowhere, I heard a loud thud again. The man turned around and ran outside the room. I opened my eyes, and I saw the man leaving the room. My parents rushed into my room, and my father asked, "Why is the main door open? Are you all right?" "We heard you screaming. I really saw someone standing in front of you from the window." "Who was here?" I couldn't reply, so I just hugged them tightly, grateful for their early arrival. Then I told them everything that had happened, and we decided to leave the house right away. As we walked out, I glanced back at the house, feeling a chill run down my spine.
Story 3. I ain't no believer in ghosts or anything like that. But what happened to me that night, it's got me questioning everything. We had just moved into this new house, and I had to set things up before my family could move in as well. It was a regular Tuesday evening. I had just finished a long day at work, and all I wanted was to kick back, crack open a cold one, and forget about the world. Little did I know that other plans were waiting for me. I was lying on the bed, flipping through channels on the TV. The room was dimly lit. I caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of my eye. I turned my head, expecting to see nothing. But there it was, a dark and shadowy figure standing in the hallway. I rubbed my eyes, thinking, how's this possible? But when I looked again, the figure had moved closer. "Who the hell are you? And how did you get in?" I asked him with my voice trembling. I tried to look tough on the outside, but inside, fear clawed at my chest, squeezing my heart tight. I tried to call a friend, but my hands were shivering. I wanted to run, but my legs felt heavy as lead. All I could do was sit there, frozen in my own living room. The man kept on advancing closer and closer. He was wearing a hood, and his face was hidden beneath his hood, leaving only a void of darkness to look at. Suddenly, he stopped advancing and started moving backward. He stood at the door for a moment and then ran outside the house. I was confused. What the hell just happened? I still couldn't believe it, and my heart was still racing aggressively. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call a friend of mine who lived nearby. With trembling hands, I managed to find his contact and called him. He told me to lock all the doors and check the house thoroughly. I did the same, turned on all the lights, and investigated every room and corner. The whole house was empty. I spent the rest of the night huddled under my blanket with lights on. Too afraid to close my eyes, somehow the night passed. Another evening, I nearly forgot that strange incident that happened and was calling my wife to tell her that the furniture was almost set, and she could move in after a couple of days. I was walking casually in the dimly lit hallway, and a chilling wind swept through, followed by the banging sound in the kitchen. I told my wife that I would call her back in a moment and ran towards the kitchen. There was no one in there, but the window in the kitchen was open. I thought it must be the wind that confused me. As I leaned towards the window to close it, I felt a presence beside me. A breath on my neck that wasn't my own, as if someone was standing just behind me. My heart raced, my instincts screaming at me to flee. But before I could move, a voice whispered in my ear. A voice that sounded like an old man. "Leave this house." The words sent shivers down my spine and couldn't turn around. Panic seized me, and I sprinted toward the front door without looking back, desperate for an escape. As I left the house and stood outside on the road, I saw that same hooded man standing inside, looking at me from the window. I called the police and my friend again. Police came and searched the whole house but didn't find anything. They found footprints, but no man was found. My friend took me to his place for a night, and I called the owner to cancel my contract and left the house within 2 weeks.